North Avenue to Techwood Drive, O'Leary to Key. It's WreckTalk!
What is going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. It's the off-season. We're previewing teams. We're predicting teams. And while I was taking notes for this and preparing for the video, generally I'm not trying to go in on a team when I'm doing a preview. I'm really trying to take an objective look. I couldn't do it for this video. Could not do it. Now, people I think rightfully did say in my power rankings video, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Every other team, he's saying, I don't know much about this team, and you just stick them somewhere. Well, that's the point of these videos. I'm going to educate myself on some of these teams. However, spoiler alert, Florida State ain't one of those teams that I don't know about. In fact, no one knows more about the Florida State fan base in general than WreckTalk. Obviously, Georgia Tech opened up with them last year. We had to hear all about how they were God's gift to football, that they had been martyred on a cross and they were coming for vengeance, and they go 2-10. And I, as much shit as Florida State caught last year, I don't think people really understand just how bad Florida State was last year. I know I did it until I started looking into the numbers. Obviously, they go 2-10, did not score more than 21 points on a single power opponent. Not a single one. They scored the most. They scored exactly 21 in their first game against my Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So I guess print off a little certificate, moral victory. You put up 21 points on Georgia Tech, who had a brand new DC their week one. So congratulations. Now, let's try and play devil's advocate for Florida State last year. Maybe their schedule was harder than we thought. They did play 10 teams that went to bowls. I thought that was kind of interesting. However, the only two teams you beat didn't go to bowls: Charleston Southern and Cal, who was awful. I think they won 3 games. So yeah, 10 teams went to bowls, and you lost to every single one of them. Let's look at some stats. Scoring offense, dead last in the ACC. Next was Virginia, who scored 11 more touchdowns than Florida State last year. Let me say that again. Tony Elliott, Virginia, one of the most down teams in the ACC right now, and the most down that I can remember seeing Virginia since I've been watching football, scored 11 more times than Florida State last year. Florida State could have played 2 or 3 more games and still not caught up with the 16th worst team in the ACC. Total offense, again, dead last year. Next was Stanford, who had 500 more yards total offense than Florida State. Again, Florida State could have played another game, still not had as many total yards as Stanford. Total defense, we're looking up. 385 yards a game, 13th in the ACC. So congratulations on not scraping the bottom of the barrel there. Rush offense, dead last. Rush defense, dead last. Pass offense, dead last. And I didn't look, but it would not surprise me if they were the worst power team in the country. 180.3 yards a game. Now, why is that especially embarrassing? Because Florida State fans told everyone that would listen online, on Twitter, on YouTube comment sections, and Facebook groups, DJU was going to be great. He had remember this time last year? Oh, he's having great practices, man. Oh, man, he's looking something else in practice. Dabo should be put in the Hall of Fame now for winning 9 games with DJU. That's going to be important later when we look at this season. Pass defense. I think you were first in pass defense. Am I looking at this right? 201.3 yards a game. However, it doesn't matter when you can't score You can't come in within 11 scores of Virginia. So, look, part of that is me rubbing in. Part of that is I don't think people realize just how bad Florida State was last year and really what that says about the coaching staff. And we're going to talk about it, Mike Norvell. If you look up and down their schedule last year, let me just look at it last year. 2024. You're more talented than Georgia Tech. You're more talented than Boston College. You're more talented than Memphis. You're more talented than Cal. I'm not going to say you're more talented than SMU. They made an ACC title, though I do think that's true top to bottom. Your blue chip ratio is better. You have more talent. I won't count them, though. You don't have more talent than Clemson. You're definitely more talented than Duke. I'm not going to say you're more talented than Miami. You're more talented than North Carolina, not Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and Florida Gators. 10 teams you are flat out more talented than, and at least half of them markedly so. So, as funny as it is to make fun of Florida State right now, I mean, this is a problem that goes beyond, to me, just football. So, let's put that to bed. What have they done about this, though? Now, they're talking about lawsuits. In their opinion, they got a big win. They have a number on what it's going to cost to leave the ACC. 2030 is coming about. They get complete veto rights. The ACC turned over, and just let Florida State lay all over them and stick it in. And that's fine. They're going to talk about that because they don't have much to talk about anywhere else. Now, they do have some things. They fire their whole staff, basically, minus Mike Norvell, because Mike Norvell's buyout is too much. But they have more money than King Solomon. Head scratching to me. Either way, they bring in Gus Malzahn. Now, Gus Malzahn, on his way out from Central Florida, obviously was at Auburn. Gus Malzahn himself is an interesting figure. He was on the hot seat at Auburn. Then he beats Georgia and Alabama in consecutive games, saves his job, only to get a massive contract because Arkansas came calling for him, only to be fired in one of the larger payouts ever or buyouts ever paid. But Auburn's always good for that. So he went 4-8 last year at Central Florida. Generally speaking, he's a good OC, has top 25 offenses. Now, what is Florida? What are you guys paying him? You're paying him 1.3 for year 1, 1.8 for year 2, and 2.3 for year 3. Now, I don't know what his buyout clauses are, but you've got to have him come in and electrify your offense. You can't. Not being able to come within 11 touchdowns of Virginia is not going to cut it. You've got to be 500% better than you were last year. Is Gus Malzahn the guy to do it? Hold that thought, because he's going to have a quarterback that can do it. Now, interestingly enough, you're going to be paying $2.6 million for OCs this year. Why is that? Because you're paying Alex Adkins, 1.3? And I think you owe him 1.4 for last year. So I don't know if you've paid all of that up front or you're paying it on a yearly basis. Y'all are the financial gurus. But also you have to think, setting the trolling aside for a second, is this somewhat strategic in that you're thinking what I'm thinking, which we'll talk about in a minute, that Mike Norvell's not very good. He had a flash fire. He had 2 10-plus win seasons, but really you want an out to fire him, and you want a coordinator that has Power 5, or I guess we're calling it Power 4 now, head coaching experience. Are you positioning him to take over as the interim if you choose to fire Mike Norvell? Should he have a disaster season similar or even close to what he did last year? Now, you also bring in new DC. What is his name? I haven't even written it down. You don't care what your DC's name is, neither do I. You hire him from Nebraska. Impressive resume, had top 25 defenses, I think 4 years in a row at 2 different schools, Nebraska and Syracuse. I don't have much to say about him. You bring in 2 new coordinators, they better get the job done. Now, what do you do in your recruiting class? 18th ranked recruiting class. You just edge out the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets to have the second best recruiting class in the conference. And you have the 6th best portal class. Now, there are some big names in this portal class for you. Wide receiver, our boy D. Robinson out of USC, 95 rated transfer, former 5-star. Offensive tackle Michael Pettis from Ole Miss. You bring in Luke. I can't even read my own handwriting. You bring in some linemen, though. DeMonte Diggs out of Coastal Carolina. Jason Jenkins from Tennessee. Wide receiver Squirrel White out of Tennessee. All these are 4-star guys. Here's the thing. You've heard the saying, you live by the portal, you die by the portal. And Lord knows you've lived by it, and you've been buried 3,000 feet under by it too. So what is it going to be this year, right? Are you going to live by the portal this year? Are you going to die by the portal? It's hard to evaluate Florida State's team because they were so bad last year. It's not like you just have some holes you need to plug. You have gaping potholes, craters everywhere. So I don't know where you what killed you the most last year position wise. I don't know. Let's talk about Mike Norvell. And I am genuinely interested in hearing this from Florida State fans. Leave it in the comments. Do you think Mike Norvell is a good coach? And let me ask it this way. If you could fire Mike Norvell now, or let's phrase it better. If you could have fired Mike Norvell at the end of last year so that you're in the middle of the coaching carousel where you want to be with no financial penalty, you could have just fired him without paying anything. Would you have done that? Let's look at Mike Norvell's resume. At Memphis, what do you think he was at Memphis? You just had to guess. Pretty good. He was 38-15, 1 of 4 in bowls though, but he went 8-5, 10-3, 8-6, and then had a monstrous 12-1 season before you hired him. What has he done at Florida State? He is 33-27. He's had 2 bowl appearances, 1 ACC title, and here's the kicker. And this honestly is why people like me laugh at you when you talk about you're some kind of king shit in the ACC. What's Mike Norvell's conference record? Anyone care to take a guess? 20-20. Mike Norvell is 500 in conference play. A conference that you seem to think you're a little bit too good for. About made me drop an F-bomb there. You're just too good. Your shit don't stink. You got to get in the SEC. What makes you think that is the solution to problems? You and North Carolina, even Miami's pretty quiet about it. Clemson's joined you in suing these people. If you cannot do better in the last 5 years than 500 play in the ACC, which you think is so horrible, what's going to happen in the SEC? Let me just pick a team off the top of my head just to drive this point home. I know this is a preview and prediction video, but I'm really trying to get through to you. And by the way, I know what you're going to comment. Oh, he's just saying this because Georgia Tech, needs Florida State and they're going to get left out. Honest to God, I wish I could take like a perfect lie detector test right now. I hope you get in the SEC. I wish today it was announced you were leaving the ACC and going to the SEC. The thing is, I don't think you really want that, or I don't think you understand what you're asking for. So let me switch screens here into my right record. Bring this up. Put me on the screen. Okay. So let's just say you swap schedules with Vanderbilt this year. What do you think your record would be? At Virginia Tech, it's not clear. I would not pick you to win in Blacksburg. So that's an ACC team I don't think you beat. But set all this non-con aside. At South Carolina, loss. Georgia State, Utah, whatever. At Bama, you do play them this year. That's a loss. You get a bye. LSU, loss. Missouri, 50-50 at best. At Texas, you're getting the absolute soul drug out of you. Auburn, at best 50-50, as down as they are. Kentucky would be a 50-50, and at Tennessee. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 conference games on here that I think, and if you're honest with yourselves, you know you get the dog shit beat out of you in. And that's year in and year out. And for that reason, I hope you do go to the SEC. So, oh yeah, but when we get all this money, everything will be fine and we'll be able to compete with all these teams. Right. The thing is, you're competing with Alabama, LSU, and Texas, who all are going to have more money than you. So good luck with that. We'll look at Florida's schedule in a second. But back to Mike Norvell. 500 in conference play. So let's look at the good of Mike Norvell. 2023, 2024, he's 24-4. Really good. Conference title, playoff snub. No one defended you as fervently as WreckTalk did. And then I saw how you responded to it, which was crapping your pants and telling everyone that you just sat in dirt or something. What did he do if you take those 2 seasons away? What did he do the rest of the seasons? If you take out 23 and 24, he's 10-23. He's 10-23. Oh, but we own Georgia Tech, though. Do you? You've won 1 of the last 3 against Georgia Tech. Mike Norvell has. Mike Norvell's beat Georgia Tech once. That includes a loss in Tallahassee to the worst coach in the history of college football, Jeff Collins. Let that sink in. Very small list of people that can say that they got beat at home by Jeff Collins. In the last 10 years, you've won 1 of 4. In a decade, you've beat Georgia Tech once. In the last 16 years, you've won 3 of the last 8 meetings. Stop it with this, you own Georgia Tech. But I will give it to you. You're 15-13 all time against Tech. Yeah, that really is owning Tech. Sorry, my camera it thinks that I'm trying to track when I put my hand up. Either way, 3 losing seasons for Mike Norvell. 2 10 wins, 1 ACC title, but 3 losing seasons. You're the one that's telling everyone you're the standard of college football. Tell me if 33-27, 500 in conference play is good enough for you as a Florida State fan. I don't think Mike Norvell is very good. Let's go into this year. What about this year? Can they solve it this year? No, they can't. I'm going to tell you why. If there's one position you've got to get right in today's college football, it's quarterback. And let me tell you something. If DJU couldn't get you offensive production last year, what makes you think this guy who's listed at 5'11", at best he's 5'9", and Thomas Castanelos is going to be let me just read some stats for you. Boston College, 2023. He was 7-6 as a starter, 57.3% completion percentage, 2,248 yards, 15 touchdowns, and get this, 14 interceptions. 15 basically has a 1-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Now, he was at Central Florida the year before that. Who cares? Did have over 1,000 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns, though. More on that in a second. 2024, only played in 8 games, 4-4 as a starter, 61.5% completion percentage, 1,366 passing yards, 18 touchdowns on 5 interceptions. So it seems like he's improving. 194 rushing yards and a touchdown. Seems like he's improving until we look at his lost fumbles. Not total, lost fumbles. 2023, he had 5 lost fumbles. 2024, only played in 8 games, 6 lost fumbles, a bunch of those coming at the end of the year, which resulted in him getting benched, giving the middle finger to Boston College and saying he quits. Does that sound like Florida State material to you? So in a career, 33 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, and 11 lost fumbles. What is that? 28 total turnovers on 33 touchdowns? This season is not going to go how you think it is. If you're a Florida State fan, tell me, are you excited about that? This guy isn't just a mid-level, power four quarterback. He's bad. No one would be excited to have him as their quarterback. So, all right, with that in mind, let's go look at the schedule. Let's predict some games. This is last year's schedule. Let's pull up this year's schedule. 2025. You host number 9 Alabama. 3:30 games on ABC. What is the line now? At one point it was like 17 and a half, maybe something like that. 14 and a half. I don't think this game's going to be close. I think Alabama's going to beat the ever-loving fool out of you. One, because they're just a better team top to bottom. They're a better program top to bottom. They're what you think you are when you're typing on the internet. The other reason is your quarterback, for some unknown reason, opened his mouth, said Alabama don't have Nick Saban to protect him anymore. He starts fast, even though he loses week 1 games to awful teams. There is a large chasm between where Florida State is and where Alabama is. You're going to open up with a loss to Alabama week 1. And I don't think that that's all that controversial. Where do I have my wins and losses written? Over here. East Texas by Kent State. I'm not going to say anything about Kent State isn't the worst team in the world, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say you win those games. So in your first 3 games, I got you winning 2, losing to Bama. I think that's fair. We're all with each other now. If you're a Florida State fan, I'm sure you're looking at this saying, well, of course we beat Virginia. Let me educate people in case they don't know. Number 1, Charlottesville can be a tricky place to play. It's a Friday night game. And we all know about teams that are generally favorites Friday night on the road. I don't even know that you'll be a favorite in this game. You probably will, though. Well, obviously, Florida State owns Virginia. No, they don't. Listen to this. Florida State has won 1 of the last 3 against Virginia. In 13 years, Florida State has beat Virginia once. That sink in, but they run the conference, right? Their last win in Charlottesville was 2010. They're 3-3 since 2005 against Virginia. So this is a night game, Friday night game on the road, and you've got an absolute turnover machine in Castellanos. I got you losing this game, and it's not even me trolling. Historically, you have not played Virginia well. You haven't won in Charlottesville since 2010. You're losing this game. You might save Tony Elliott's job. You might just save Tony Elliott's job early in the season. Now, you host Miami at Doak Campbell. You're losing that game. I will say this probably will be closer than people think. Rivalry games are always weird. You got something to prove. But again, like with Alabama right now, unfortunately for you, there's a world of difference between Miami and Florida State. Number 1 being, and how embarrassing does this have to be if you're a Florida State fan? Miami can bring a good quarterback in. You bring in DJU and Thomas Castellanos. They bring in Cam Ward, who was the number 1 overall pick, and Carson Beck. It is what it is. Pitt could be an interesting game. I'm sure this is another game that Florida State fans think they win easily. Here's the thing. We did all laugh at Pitt for losing, 6 or 7 straight games last year. But Holstein went down. He'll be back. And I think Pitt will be a sneaky good team this year, actually. I got a lot of confidence in Pitt. You're going to take 2 L's at home and 3 in a row here. You're going to be searching for your first conference win. And then you've got to go on the road to play 10:30 at Stanford in October. Now, as funny as I think it would be for you to lose to Stanford, and I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, I'll give you the W against Stanford. So let's take a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 games. I got you winning 3. So going in the second half of the season, Wake, Clemson, Virginia Tech, at NC State, and at Florida, I think you've got to win 3 games to make a bowl. At a minimum, even if I'm wrong with Virginia or something, you've got to win 2 of those games, which can be tough. Luckily, you get a bye, which will be much needed. I think you're going to take care of Wake. It's homecoming for you. Wake has a new coach. Wake has been a disaster the last few seasons. Don't even think it's something we need to talk a ton about. At Clemson, Clemson is one of the most complete teams in the country with what they have coming back. Clemson is what you act like you've been for the past 10, 15 years in the ACC. Clemson might win this game by 4 touchdowns. Not even worth talking about. So now I'm saying you got to beat Virginia Tech, NC State, and Florida. So spoiler alert, I don't have you making a bowl. Virginia Tech, you do get them at home. If this game was in Blacksburg, I think I would definitely have you losing it, but I've never been high on Virginia Tech. In fact, they're one of the ones that commented that I didn't know what I was talking about, which they're probably right. I'm going to give you the W and a much-needed win against Virginia Tech here, November 15th. At NC State. NC State, I don't really respect for similar reasons. It's on the road. I do think both teams will be beat up here, but they've got a better quarterback. You would be much better off. What is that kid's name? Bailey or Bailey something. They got a young quarterback that can be a problem for defenses. I'm going to have you taking the L to NC State, and you're not going to the swamp and getting a win there either. You'll take a loss to Florida to end the year and end up 5-7. That's what I got you going. 5-7. Now, you're going to be typing right now. Oh, but this. Oh, but it's different somehow. Well, you're going to have to prove it. Here's the thing. I think the ceiling for you is 8-4, and I've got the floor at 4-8. For you to get anywhere close to 8-4, I think you are going to have to bench Castellanos as soon as possible. I don't know what your quarterback room looks like beyond him, but the only hope you have for a remotely decent season is not with him at quarterback. And I think most Florida State fans, if they're honest with themselves, will agree with me on that. Now, the interesting thing is I think Phil still had you with either the easiest or second next to easiest schedule in the ACC. You don't draw like Louisville. You don't play your daddy, Georgia Tech. You miss some of these teams. You do get like Miami and Clemson, but beyond that, you're not getting, super tough teams. You're not playing SMU or whatever. So let me know what you guys think. Will Florida State have to divert to, again, talking about their branding because they don't have anything worth watching on the football field? If you're a Florida State fan, tell me where I'm an idiot. Where am I wrong? Why are you going 12-0 and getting snubbed again this year? I guess that won't happen in a 12-team playoff. Why are you a playoff team? Why are you winning a national title? Why is Gus Malzahn going to be the greatest offensive mind ever? Let me know in the comments. Y'all have a good one.